Why did Uthman Raziallahu anhu burn Qurans? Was he trying to hide something? Or was it an attempt to destroy the original Quran? These are the accusations thrown at Muslims by non-Muslims, and even some confused Muslims. But the truth is far from these claims. So, what really happened? Let's see together what really happened. The preservation during the Prophet's, peace be upon him, lifetime. To understand this incident, we need to go back to the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Quran we have today is not just a written book. It's a living tradition, preserved like no other book in history. The word Quran itself means recitation, and it was primarily preserved through oral transmission. During the lifetime of the Prophet, peace be upon him, countless companions memorized the Quran word for word with complete precision. It was like a living miracle imprinted on the hearts of the believers. And it wasn't just about memorization. The Prophet, peace be upon him, had nearly 43 scribes, including the well-known Zayd ibn Thabit Raziallahu anhu, who wrote down the revelations on materials like leather, bones, and leaves, all under the Prophet's direct supervision. Nothing was left to chance. The Quran's revelation in different dialects. But here's something important to understand. The Quran was revealed in 7 different dialects, known as ahruf. Why? Because Arabia was a land of many tribes, each with its own dialect. Allah, in His mercy, made the Quran accessible for everyone by allowing it to be recited in these different dialects. But it's crucial to note that these variations were not about changing words or meanings. They were simply differences in pronunciation and dialect, and every single variation was approved by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself. The Quran was preserved, both through memorization and writing, but the various dialects were always acknowledged. Now here's a question. Why wasn't the Quran compiled during the Prophet's lifetime? Now some might wonder why the Quran wasn't compiled into a single book during the Prophet's lifetime. The reason is simple. Revelation continued until his final days, and sometimes verses were abrogated, meaning certain verses were no longer applicable, but were kept in memory for historical purposes. Because of this ongoing revelation, the Prophet, peace be upon him, never instructed anyone to gather the entire Quran as a single, written book. Instead, it was preserved primarily through memorization by thousands of his companions, a method that proved reliable and accurate. The danger of losing the Quran. However, after the Prophet's passing, the situation changed drastically. As Islam rapidly spread across the Arabian Peninsula, it faced threats from false prophets and wars. One of the most tragic events was the Battle of Yamama, where the Muslims fought against the false prophet Musaylima. During this fierce battle, around 70 Qurra, memorizers of the Quran, were martyred. This was a wake-up call for the companions. Umar, Raziallahu anhu, quickly realized the danger. If more memorizers were lost, parts of the Quran could be forgotten forever. This realization pushed him to act fast. Umar, Raziallahu anhu, approached Abu Bakr, Raziallahu anhu, the first caliph, and urged him to compile the Quran into a single manuscript. At first, Abu Bakr, Raziallahu anhu, hesitated. How could he do something the Prophet, peace be upon him, never did? But after understanding the urgency, he agreed that it was a matter of preservation, not innovation. He appointed Zayd ibn Thabit, Raziallahu anhu, to lead this monumental task. And here's what makes this process so incredible. Zayd didn't rely on memory alone. Every verse had to be confirmed by 2 witnesses who had memorized it directly from the Prophet, peace be upon him, and had it written down in his presence. This meticulous process ensured that the Quran was preserved in its purest form. The manuscript was completed successfully and kept safe with Abu Bakr, Raziallahu anhu. After his death, it was passed to Umar, Raziallahu anhu, and later to Hafsa, Raziallahu anha, the daughter of Umar, Raziallahu anhu. The Quran was now preserved in one official manuscript. Why did Uthman, Raziallahu anhu, burn the other copies? As Islam continued to spread beyond Arabia, it reached places like Syria, Iraq, and Persia, lands where Arabic dialects and pronunciations differed greatly. And that's when the problem began. People were reciting the Quran according to their own dialects. Arguments started, disputes erupted. Muslims were actually fighting over how to pronounce certain words in the Quran. During the caliphate of Uthman, Raziallahu anhu, this problem reached its peak. Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman, Raziallahu anhu, while on a military expedition, witnessed Muslims from different regions arguing over their recitations. Alarmed, he rushed to Uthman, Raziallahu anhu, and pleaded, "Save this ummah before they differ about the book as the Jews and the Christians did." Uthman, Raziallahu anhu, understood the gravity of the situation and acted decisively. He ordered official copies of the Quran to be made from Hafsa's, Raziallahu anha, manuscript. Once again, Zayd ibn Thabit, Raziallahu anhu, led the task with the help of other companions. But there was one more thing to do to protect the Quran's purity. Uthman, Raziallahu anhu, ordered all other personal, incomplete, or unauthorized copies to be burned. Why? Because these copies were not perfect. They were were personal notes written by companions for their own use, containing differences in spelling and writing styles that could easily cause confusion. Uthman's Radiallahu anhu decision was made to protect the Quran, not destroy it, and his decision was supported by all major companions, including Ali Radiallahu anhu, who later said, "If I were in Uthman's position, I would have done the same." The Quran is fully preserved. And here's the truth. The Quran we have today is the exact same Quran revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Not a single letter has been altered, and Allah himself promised this preservation when he said, "Indeed, it is we who sent down the Quran, and indeed, we will be its guardian." So, the next time someone tells you that Uthman Radiallahu anhu burned Qurans to hide something, remember this. It was an act of unity, not suppression. An act of preservation, not destruction.